Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Garden of Sports podcast football week 7 recap. Let me catch my breath after that.
Yeah.
So I'm your host, Zach Gardner, alongside my brother, Jake Gardner.
Hello.
And today we're going to go over players of the week, notable injuries, trades, and must-grab waiver wire ads. Now that we're into bye weeks, these moves will be critical for wins, especially if you have a weak bench. So thank you for entering the garden, and let's jump in.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, players of the week. We'll go through this pretty quickly. Quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford, 27.16 fantasy points. Joe Burrow, 26.64 fantasy points. Tua Tagovailoa. Valio?
Tungo Vailoa.
Okay, sure. 26.54 fantasy points, so finally had a good game. Aaron Rodgers, 24.66 fantasy points. And Tom Brady, 24.44, so everybody's mostly well-known there.
I'm just opening up a nice sweet red right now. No big deal.
Jesus. So, you got running backs?
Yeah, so I'll take running backs. Coming in this week, number 1, DeAndre Swift, 24.4 fantasy points. Followed by Damian Harris, 24.3 fantasy points. He couldn't get 2 more yards. Dearness Johnson, 23.8 fantasy points. Brandon Bolden, 16.9 fantasy points, and Elijah Mitchell, 16.7 fantasy points. As far as running backs concerned, this was a weird week.
Yeah, a lot of big names were off. It's kind of opposite, I guess, of last week, actually. So, yeah, last week all the big names went off consistently. But this is definitely different, at least in running back department. Wide receivers, Cooper Kupp, 32.6 fantasy points. Jamar Chase, 30.1 fantasy points. Mike Evans, 28.6 fantasy points. A.J. Brown, 23.3 fantasy points. That's nice to see. Terry McLaurin, 21.7 fantasy points. That's full of stars.
Yeah, that looked more like a top 5 list. Here's another weird one. Tight ends. Number 1, CJ Uzoma, 22.6 fantasy points. Kyle Pitts, 19.8 fantasy points. Mike Gesicki, 18 fantasy points. Foster Moreau, 15 fantasy points. And Zach Ertz with 14.5 fantasy points. Another weird one.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that Pitts is coming to form 2 weeks ago before his bye week, so this is kind of just keeping that up.
Right.
Gesicki broke out a couple weeks ago, but yeah, the other 3, I mean, Ertz was kind of expected with the move, but the other 2 for sure.
But to go off right away, though, and look like 4 years ago, Zach Ertz, I don't think anybody was expecting that.
Yeah, but now he's not splitting for 2 years, you know? They're not, the team's not writing him off. That's not toxic environment. Supposedly Philly is. I don't know.
Okay.
Notable injuries. Devonta Adams, this is new as of today. He's in COVID protocol. So that's something to keep up with. It says that he did get the vaccine. So that means he tested positive still, but he needs to get 2 negative tests 24 hours before the game.
Okay.
So something to watch as the week goes on here. Patrick Mahomes, concussion, but he says he feels fine, so
maybe hopefully he'll be back.
A lot of people were scared, but he could just be back and playing.
Just like was it 2 or 3 years ago? I think maybe 2 years ago or something like that. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Where his knee popped out of socket and like turned to the side, and it looked like he was done, and then he ended up popping it right back in, and he was back like 2 weeks later or something.
Yeah,
he's always getting lucky with injuries.
Yeah, man. DeAndre Hopkins, hamstring, did not practice Monday. I think this is pretty normal for star players now. It seems like they're taking the Monday after a game off.
Yeah.
I mean, like they do injure themselves. It's just like if it's kind of sore, they're just like, all right, we're going to rest the big money guy.
Right.
Darren Waller, ankle. It was a game time decision on Sunday and did not play. But I think he's going to be back. I think they have a bye week, and then so he'll have more time to rest it, and then he'll be back. So they just wanted him to rest it 2 weeks, I think.
Okay.
Nick Chubb, calf, is expected to play Sunday, so it's good to hear that this early. So you shouldn't have to worry about that if you're an owner.
Right. So do we still keep Dearness Johnson because he'll be the backup still, and they like to do the 2 running back system?
You can, but I wouldn't start him.
Yeah.
It's the backup. Yeah. He had his big week. You gotta. I'm sure you have better flex options. If you don't, I mean, yikes.
Right.
But if it's a deep league, yeah, you'd probably start him because they do the duo running back thing. But
yeah.
Maybe like a 16-team league.
Yeah. Maybe something like that.
Saquon Barkley has an outside chance to play Sunday. It's sounding more like it's not going to be this coming Sunday, but the following November 7th.
Okay.
So, but there's still a chance so we just want to give 1% hope to owners,
Right.
Josh Jacobs left the game with a chest contusion,
but
again, they have a bye week, so he should be good after that.
Okay.
Miles Sanders, low ankle sprain, was carted to the locker room. People were thinking this was season ending, and now they think he might have avoided a major injury, but I still imagining him missing several weeks.
Right.
He was carted off, so that's usually not.
Yeah.
It's gotta be. It can't be minor at that point.
Right.
Antonio Brown ankle did not play this past Sunday, and there's no update for the next game. I think they were just being like, they know they have a good chance to go to the Super Bowl, have a good playoff run, so they're just gonna be cautious with all these stars.
Yeah, it's not like they need him back,
Yeah, just kind of how like Gronkowski's not back yet. They know they want him for later. So
right.
But Gronkowski finally, after 4 weeks out now, they're hopeful he's gonna play Sunday.
Okay.
So that could be good for if you held him this whole month. George Kittle should be back for week 9. Well, so this coming week. Wait, this coming week's week 9, right? Am I off right now? No, it's week 8.
Yeah, so he'll be back in 2 weeks, it sounds like.
Yeah, when he's eligible. So they just wanted to rest that calf for a good amount of time and see if they could just have him the rest of the season, so he wasn't dealing with that all year.
Right.
And then Dawson Knox had surgery in his hand, his broken hand, so he will miss a few weeks is how they're saying it. So, yeah, we just went over 3 tight ends that, you might need to fill in for.
Yeah.
But and if any other injuries, just let me know.
There are some tight ends out there.
Yeah, man. Bust of the week and buy low candidates. I just had to say this one, not that anybody owned him. Justin Fields, 1.16 fantasy points. Bust.
I think that's a bust.
I think he deserves to be 0% owned at this point. Right along Andy Dalton. So both of them can be 1% owned, then that's just... If fantasy doesn't help tell the story of real life football at all, besides percent owned, I don't know what does. I mean, him and Andy Dalton are just rough, and that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I'm fine moving on. Chicago's it's a sad story.
Yeah, I don't know how we have 3 wins. Darrell Henderson Jr., 7.9 fantasy points, so he finally had a weak game after several weeks of really good play. So, and it was weird because it was against Detroit. He'll bounce back. Everybody's eventually due for a down week. So,
right,
it's another bust. Chuba Hubbard, 7.6 fantasy points, bust. Aaron Jones, 6.4 fantasy points.
Chuba Hubbard did not give me a Chuba Hubbard this weekend.
God. Yeah, Aaron Jones got such a disappointment. Even though he does that, though.
This is
6. I don't get it, man. I probably lost you your week if that's your main running back.
This is par for the course for Aaron Jones. He is a very inconsistent player. I've owned him multiple times over the last 5 seasons, and this is what he does every year. He'll get you 31 week, and he'll get you 5 the next. This is not shocking to me at all, having owned him in the past.
Sure. Darrell Williams, 6.5 fantasy points. Bust. We should have a bust button, like a
Bust.
sound. No, not like that. That's weird.
Yeah, we gotta get some. We gotta get. Yeah, that is weird. Okay, we gotta get. We gotta get some sound bites for sure.
Yeah, that's coming. Antonio Gibson, I put him on here because I think he's playing injured. Because they were talking about his injury last week. I think he's a buy
definitely
low.
Playing injured.
He's a buy low for when they haven't had their bye week, correct?
They haven't, but I mean, a stress fracture isn't going to get fixed in 1 week.
No, but he is like a young player, so they heal faster usually.
He's going to be out there with like a splint on, still running. He's insane.
No, they wouldn't play him like that. So I think it's a buy low because if you don't have, and it's slim pickings right now, this far in the season because you've seen all the breakout guys for the most part in the first half, and so then there's kind of that wave is gone, and then you don't have your second half breakouts yet.
Knowing that he has an
we're in
injury,
the
why
middle.
would you trade for him if you knowing he has an injury and he could
Because
be
he's
season-ending?
obviously it's not season ending because he had an
But he
injury
could
last
be any
week.
time. I mean, if that thing gets worse or if he takes a hit there and he breaks his leg, I mean,
Well, they wouldn't let him. They wouldn't let him play if it was that bad.
Probably true, but I don't like the sound. I'm just playing on a little stress fracture, no big deal. It just rubs me the wrong way. That's just me, though, maybe.
Yeah, no, I think if it was bad, they wouldn't. They would just tell him no, because
Okay,
this is their future. So,
right.
and especially if you need a running back and you need to trade, and you don't, you can't trade for a top 10 guy necessarily. This is a guy who has the upside potential to be a top 10.
Yeah,
So
he does.
I think it's worth it if you time to risk it in a trade.
Okay.
Calvin Ridley, 10.6 fantasy points.
I love him as a buy low.
He's still a buy low on our list. He was drafted as like your top wide receiver probably. So it sucks up to this point, and those people, whoever own them, are probably pretty frustrated. So it's a guy you could potentially get. I mean, it's going to take a package for sure, but it's the biggest name that you could trade for.
True.
But yeah,
So are we fine? Is this going to be the first week we haven't mentioned Allen Robinson?
Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of, we've talked about him a lot, and after this such that the worst week of football ever from the Bears, maybe. I don't know, man. You can't even talk about any of them at this point.
Yeah.
We do have a slight hope, like Fields and the offense are going to figure it out a bit because we have good running backs that can switch in and out, and we have talented wide receivers, and Fields is supposed to be a talented young quarterback. So
you may be able to get Allen Robinson off the waiver wire soon.
Yeah, but he might just be somebody's bench piece, and they're stashing him for second half. And I don't want to recommend buying low anymore because you don't want to give up too much with the dumpster fire of offense. So
Right.
God, I would want him though, but I think there's better guys. There's higher upside guys to trade for at wide receiver.
Right.
DJ Moore, 10.3 fantasy points. He's had like 10.3. That's fine. Obviously, that's serviceable, but he has not recaptured the breakout of the first month of the season. The whole team hasn't. They looked really good to start the season, and now they're just on this spiral.
Yeah, they look like a totally different team now. It's weird.
I think that means just, all these teams got tape on them and they figured them out potentially.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they're not going to adjust now and change it up and get back to form. So I think he's a buy low for sure. We know how talented he is.
Yeah, he's a good buy low, I think. I can agree.
Might be the heaviest price you have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Calvin really might actually be similar, but DJ Moore's had the most fantasy points of the two. So
And Calvin Ridley's done more in his career, but DJ Moore is having a better season right now.
Yeah, again, like if you need a wide receiver, this is one of the guys to go for.
Yeah.
And then I put Chase Edmonds on here as a buy low because his average yard per carry is 5.8, and that's so damn good. And it
It
hasn't
is.
translated fully to fantasy because of the touchdowns.
So
But eventually they come through for players who aren't getting them to start the season.
so because he's averaging 5.8 yards a carry, hasn't translated to touchdowns. Do you think that's because they're not using him in the red zone?
Yeah, that's partially that, but also eventually some of these breakthrough runs he has will just be a touchdown.
So you think there is more touchdowns coming, even though, that
Yeah,
might
because
be an elevated yard per carry.
I think so because it's a 7-0 team with the probably the best offense in the league, if not top 3. So that means there's touchdowns all to go around.
Okay.
So I think he's going to get some for sure.
I agree he could be a good buy low. I think there's valid questions to those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're artificial in a way.
Well, it's hard to get running backs because everybody likes to hold on to their running backs.
But wouldn't you want to get the one that's scoring the touchdowns though right now in James Conner?
Yeah, but he's just not a buy low because he's been having some good weeks.
Right.
So the buy, just like an actual buy low, I think would be Chase.
Okay.
And he's just more talented than Connor. Connor's just better in fantasy because of the touchdowns right now.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's going to go on forever. That's my thought. But
okay.
Because it's such a good team.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll just get every touchdown the rest of the way. I don't know. He's just not. There's potential here, and I wanted to give a running back that somebody could trade for, or at least 2, and we talked about it, Gibson as well. But
right,
it's just pretty barren right now, like we said, in probably the trade market.
Yeah, everybody's kind of assessed value at this point, like you were saying before we started.
Yeah, a lot of people have assessed value, or everybody can tell the value for sure at this point. That's why the buy lows and the sell highs are a little less this week on our list. Usually we're a little higher. I mean, we still have 9 to 10 on each, but usually we're a little bit higher.
Right.
Because we're kind of, it's just like the middle part of the season, I think, is the hardest part too.
This is the dog days for sure.
Yeah, this is where you still got to take it seriously, and especially if you're a struggling team you still think you have a shot to make the playoffs. I think it's important to make trades right now, and still important for the waiver wire, even though you might think the waiver wire isn't as good as the previous weeks. It's still worth it to go after a guy. So, but yeah, do you have any other buy lows you can think of?
No, I think that's a good list.
For sure, in the comments, or just tag us or message us any other players you want us to give you an opinion on.
Yeah.
Sell highs. So yeah, this is another pretty good list for this week. Again, like we said, it was a weird week for fantasy in some regard, but Michael Pittman Jr., 18.5 fantasy points. He's had an up and down season. Well, the team kind of has. And so the players with it. And I don't know, he's just had like up and down weeks like a lot of wide receivers do, so he's not going to probably not going to finish top 20 and keep this up. So you could try to sell him for something. Not that you could get anything great, I mean, but this could be a guy you use to get Chase Edmonds, you know what I mean?
Yeah, this could be a guy you use to get like Calvin Ridley or something.
Yeah, in a combo deal.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else on him?
Nothing more on him, really. I mean, just, it could be just a nice little move to get somebody that could be more consistent or could have more upside later in the season.
Even though you think people might not take a trade, why not still send it and test the waters?
Right.
Damian Harris, 24.3 fantasy points. So he's had 2 good weeks in a row, but New England hasn't done great against good teams. So I think it's a sell high for sure. And there's guys, there's other running backs they're testing out right behind him.
Yeah, I definitely think he's a good sell high. You might be able to get something decent for him. You might even be able to move him and get like a Saquon Barkley because Damian Harris has been doing good like 3 weeks in a row now. Having some good games. Yeah. You might be able to trade him for like a Saquon Barkley or something.
Yeah, possibly. I think the Saquon might be closed because he's almost back.
Yeah,
And
but I mean, Damian Harris is still a very good running back. Someone might be interested in something like that.
yeah, definitely see what kind of just start talking with guys in your league and see if you can get anything. Because he's a nice flex, but
Yeah.
just whenever they're playing a good team, you can't trust him. I don't feel like you just can't trust the
Um,
team.
and then I'll take the next guy,
Hmm.
Elijah Mitchell, 16.7 fantasy points, this last week. You know, we all know, I think, San Francisco's running game is pretty volatile. You never know who's going to get the most carries every week.
Hmm.
It seems like they like Elijah Mitchell, but they like all their running backs, and they have a whole stable of them. I just don't feel like he's going to get a lot of consistency. He might be more of a frustrating player. So if you can trade him, I might even move him for like a Chase Edmonds, like Jake was talking about up in our last segment. But I just think trading him for somebody that might be more consistent would be a good move.
Yeah, no, I agree. And obviously, he's had a couple injuries. And like you said, San Francisco's still figuring out what they're gonna do. You expect them to, I don't know, keep changing their game until they find the best way to get a win because
Right, and then at
they've
some
been
point,
struggling.
Mostert's going to be back.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Have they said anything on that? I didn't see anything, but
I haven't seen anything, but I just he'll be back at some point.
yes, the Glass Man. Uh, Fournette is still a sell high. I mean, I guess we'll just die on this mountain, but we know the injury history, and maybe it's just a renaissance year. I mean, I know he's not that old, but running backs don't have a long shelf life, so it's
Oh, yeah.
just
He did run roughshod over the Bears, who have a good run defense. So
yeah, they just got extremely outplayed. I don't know.
yeah.
Um, but I would still sell high for, and now he's worth the most. If he keeps having weeks like this, he's worth even more. So
Right, he might be worth a good one to get like a Saquon Barkley as well. Why, aim
yeah,
for the
I would
stars
use
with
him
these
for
guys.
Saquon. Oh gosh, that's a good one. Fournette
Yeah,
for Saquon, somebody might actually take
right.
because he's on a good team.
And
Um,
he's got to be averaging over 5 yards a carry, Leonard Fournette.
yeah, and if Saquon's still 2 weeks back and somebody needs a win now that has
Yeah,
him, why not
I think
give
that'd
him
be
Fournette?
be a
Could
really
be
good
good for
move.
both of you actually.
Yeah.
No, I love that. So Herbert, oh yeah, Khalil
Justin
Herbert.
Herbert.
No, not Justin. Sorry, no. Cool. The Bears running back. For those of you
Okay.
who don't know, because you probably don't watch the Bears because they suck, and why would you? So
What are you doing with your Sunday, you freaks?
I didn't, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I turned it off after the
Uh,
first quarter.
and you know how much I love the Bears, Jake. I mean, you
Hmm.
of all people know.
Hmm.
It was background noise this weekend for me, and that's pretty insane because they weren't. I've sat through a lot of bad Bears seasons and watched
Hmm.
every game still. It was background noise. And
And I
while I was
was,
visiting with people, I would rather sit
yeah,
and visit than watch the Bears. That tells you all you need to know. Me.
yeah. You're not more of a fan than someone because you watched a whole game where we sucked. Like that's just a waste of your time.
There's
Yeah.
this thing called real life, people.
Yeah. So even though we're diehard fans, we know we blow. Um, and yeah, so that's why we might sound a little depressed right now. I mean, we're just still recovering, really. I mean,
Yeah,
I just emailed my therapist,
I
and we're
think
gonna see
I think
about.
the only cure for our little Bears depression we have going on is
Hmm.
I think you need to give us a sub, you know? I think you need to give us a
Sub.
sub. Give us a subscribe, give us a like,
Oh yeah,
give us
for
some
sure.
comments that'll
Feel
start
bad for
getting our
us.
spirits up a little bit.
Yeah, we are victims for sure. Um, but yeah, Herbert obviously had another good week, and we were talking about him last week as a sell high,
Yeah.
and it's just I don't even know if anybody even take him at this point, so you might just have to ride
I
it
mean,
out.
he is the lone bright spot we can even mention off this team.
Yeah, I was surprised to see it. So somebody might take a flyer on him. He would just be like the bottom of a deal that you send, right? For a bigger
I mean,
player.
Tampa Bay is the best run defense in the league.
Yeah,
Didn't seem to slow down this guy.
Include him maybe with Fournette for Saquon if the guy wants more.
Yeah, that could.
Just like a little throw in.
Because Herbert's value is gonna plummet just in a few weeks. Once the two, not just David Montgomery, there's gonna be Tariq Cohen at some point too. How are they gonna get all four of these guys involved?
Oh yeah. Jeez, yeah.
Do you think they even will have any kind of plan at all?
Yeah, no, he's a throw-in piece that somebody might like because they like what the move. I mean, he does look good out there. Not a lie.
I mean, yeah, he does. He looks great. He's averaging over 5 yards carry.
We just know it's gonna fall off.
Good defenses.
Playing your Bears fans, your Bears fan friend, play on their heart. Play on their heartstrings a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, Myles Gaskin. His second good week of the year, but as we've said, like Miami had a good week this week, yes, but it was Atlanta, which is possibly the worst defense in the league. So it's a sell high. It's a sell high because the team won't be this good unless they play another bad team, which they might have a few more bad teams they play this year. But he's talented. It's just the team's rough. So we talked about this 2 weeks ago.
Similar to Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, but he's still like the starter.
Maybe a tier above.
Yeah, tier above because he's the starter.
But same type of situation though.
Same type, so you just don't want to have the frustrating guy. You want to package him in a deal.
Yeah. It's all about those packages.
Yeah, do you want to talk about Michael Carter?
Yeah, Michael Carter. He's looking good. He's like this one actually is pretty much similar to Khalil Herbert, just copy and paste. Yeah, if you got some Jet fans, they're probably going through a Jets depression, just like us Bears fans. So you might be able to get a sell high.
Are we?
Or you might be able to get a sell high with
the league. I mean,
Michael Carter. Michael Carter is a good pass catcher as well. That's why I like him for all formats because he's good in a regular league. He's good in a PPR league. And he's been pretty consistent getting since he started being the starting back, he's been getting over 10 points every week. I mean, that's consistency that you can cash in on. So why not cash in on it?
Yeah, I definitely would go for it.
I mean, literally look, since he became the starter, it's 10 points or higher every single week that he's played.
So you still want to sell high?
I think he's a perfect sell high because you can show the consistency and you can get somebody maybe better than him.
Yeah.
Because they're on a shite team, just cash in on it now before, maybe next week if he gets 2 points and then, you can never get back to this conversation again. Just do it now.
Yeah, I agree. For sure. Probably a combo deal again.
Yeah.
Throw him in there.
I don't know. I'd be really selling the consistency. I would be really selling that as like, this guy's worth a 1-for-1. Because you know how many guys are inconsistent.
Yeah, but you'll see like the team he's on, so they'll be worried. But maybe, dude. And their quarterback went down, right? So...
Yeah, but that doesn't really affect quarterback though. That's all. If anything, that's going to make him get more carries.
Yeah, but then they know what you're gonna do more.
Yeah, but he's also a good pass catcher, so that changes how defense can stack up because he can just get behind a blitz and catch a pass and get a 20-yard gain.
Maybe, but dude, their backup. I don't even know who it is. I think I saw him on the waiver.
It's Tyler Johnson, right?
He didn't do great. But yeah, good luck to him. Zach Ertz had a great first week after being traded to Arizona. And I totally agree with that. After you wrote this, trade him and use your talking points as he's on a great team, like the number one offense now, and he's the starting tight end. But if you're just a football fan, you know the injury history. And you might be
You
able
also
to
know
a little
what he can
scared.
do. You also know what he can do when he's the main tight end, and there's no competition.
Mm-hmm.
He has top 5 upside in in that situation.
Is that your selling point, or are you
That's the
regretting putting
selling
him on
point.
here?
That's
Okay.
the sell. No, that's the selling point to selling high on him. That's how you're going
Yeah.
to get a
So
George Kittle.
you would still rather sell high?
Oh yeah, I would be trading. I would be off making the offer right now. Ertz for George Kittle.
Yeah, and that's another one where if they need to win and they're holding a guy who's out, who's not back for another 2 weeks, why not?
Most likely, you picked up Ertz off of waivers, and now you can get George Kittle out of him. I mean, come on, let's go.
Yeah,
When does
totally
that
agree.
situation happen?
Totally agree. Um, all right, man. Yeah, again, like message us after you watch the video about any other players that you are thinking about trading. Must grab waiver wire ads. Scoop them up.
Scoop him up.
So I think we still have some pretty good names on here, and we'll just say this one first because we just talked about him, Zach Ertz.
Yeah,
So people might not have grabbed him. I think we're in a lot of competitive leagues, so people did, but he's not a high percentage owned yet, is he? What do you know his actual percentage?
he's at
You shredded him?
64%. So I mean, that's why I put him on there. He's worth a go and check. He could still be available in a deep league, or he could still be available in a
10.
smaller league. Yeah,
Yeah. Got to look for him because then you can use him as a trade piece like we talked about. Or
right.
you don't have a tight end right now. We just talked about some of the tight ends who are hurt. So
He would be a good ad in that situation.
perfect grab for you.
Yeah.
Tua on Miami. Yeah, you could grab him as a backup. We haven't talked about him yet, but
Yeah, this is
yes,
just two good games in a row over 20 points.
I think
Um,
he's a good streamer for if you have a quarterback on bye, right?
that's exactly. He's your backup quarterback. He could go in for a guy on bye.
I wouldn't hold him
he,
more than 1 week.
he just threw 4 touchdowns. I mean, why not keep him on your roster until he starts showing that he's gonna play bad? I mean, he's had 2 good weeks in a row. He could be a nice little depth move.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just more of a stream when your main guy's out. Because when your main
Well,
quarterback
I'm not saying you're picking him up to start. I'm saying you're picking him up just to hold as your backup quarterback. That's what you're saying
usually
too.
usually after your starting quarterback has their bye, then you don't even need a bench quarterback anymore.
Yeah, but sometimes it's nice just to have one in case of an injury.
Pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like if you're this low tier of Tua, like if you don't have a good backup, there's better bet. Like if you don't have a good backup high owned, you could just eventually grab another guy anyway.
Okay, I can agree with that.
And you use the depth. But if you have a better bench quarterback like Joe Burrow, yeah, you keep him.
Right.
But CJ Azuma, his second big week, I think he had one 3 weeks ago.
It was like 3 or 4 weeks ago, yeah.
When he broke out. So he's a good tight end to add because the Bengals are like a fun offensive team, and he will get, TD passes in the end zone. It's just kind of another guy that you pick up if you just lost Knox,
Right.
I don't think he's a must grab, but he's a scoop. He's a scoop to stream until you have your starting tight end back.
It depends on your injury situation, depends on your bye situation. This guy could be a nice easy ad.
Worth a flyer.
Right.
Russell Gage finally did something and on Atlanta. I think he's a good...
We talked about him as a deep sleeper earlier, like in our first episode.
Yeah. Yeah, we thought Atlanta's offense would be better, though, than they are.
We did, but they're starting to look a little bit better. And he finally did something. Maybe he's worth a nice depth move for injuries or for buys.
Bench wide receiver for sure.
Yeah,
if you need
definitely
a bench wide receiver.
Yeah.
Just stream for bye weeks of other guys.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And then I'll take this next guy, J.D. McKissic. So whether you own Antonio Gibson or not, J.D. McKissic is a guy worth having on your bench because just with all that injury news with Antonio Gibson playing with shin splints or whatever he has going on, or the hairline fracture. He could miss time at any point. And then J.D. McKissick is already doing pretty well this year.
Mhm.
So if he's getting all the carries, I mean, he's a must start in that situation. So I think he's worth a stash if he's available on your waivers. I think he's worth a stash on your bench.
Yeah, he's definitely a stash running back. And if you can't make a trade, I mean, you kind of need to grab a running back like this.
Yeah,
Because
'cause
he still has good weeks when Gibson's healthy.
yeah, that's why I'm saying he's worth a stash on a bench in a deep league, or in in a small league or whatever. And then if you're in a very deep league, he's worth like a flex start because he's had some good weeks already with playing with Antonio Gibson. And then I'm actually in a league where I own Antonio Gibson, so I picked up J.D. McKissick and I just have him on my bench, just kind of as a handcuff, just in case, because I'm a little worried about his injury stuff. So
For sure. Carson Wentz, he's starting to come up with some consistency, and I kind of like. I mean, their offense is just improving now. They've had two pretty dang good weeks in a row.
Right.
So he's a serviceable quarterback. He's kind of. I'm not going to call him Tannehill from a couple of years ago, but I think he could get you.
Floor though, looks like.
Yeah, like around 20 each week. He's not going to go off, but
yeah, I mean, if your bench quarterback when your main quarterback's on bye gets you 20, I mean,
that's pretty
anybody
good.
would be happy with that.
Yeah. So he's a guy to stream with all these bye weeks going on.
Yeah.
Devontae Freeman, 2 weeks in a row with 11 plus fantasy points. I like him as a grab man. He looks like he's taken over the starting job on a really good team. So
yeah, he came in shape. I mean, he wasn't at a training camp this year, so
he's only 20% owned. So
yeah,
kind of instead of a handcuff like McKissick, you can grab this guy, and
yeah,
I think you could feel pretty comfortable starting him in your flex.
I would agree,
especially if you've had some of those running back injuries the past couple weeks. So
right.
Do you want to go over Bolden here?
Yeah, so this next guy, definitely a deep move league, I think. So Brandon Bolden, running back on the Patriots, he is kind of taking over that receiving running back role once James White left with injury like a week or two ago. He's going to miss some time. Brandon Bolden's taken over that role, and he's looking like a very good pass catcher, and he's really doing well in that role. You just have to bank on that he's going to get some consistency. Maybe he's a nice deep league move he's PPR league really only because he gets receptions. So
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
he had 2 carries for no yards, so you're going off of his receiving only.
Yeah, it's worth a deep league go and check.
Yeah. I mean,
for
you'll
sure.
be able
and
to
like
get
a
him.
watch list, also worth a watch list.
Yeah, you'll be able to get him. He's very low owned, and I don't think he's a very hot commodity. So,
yeah, and so with the Miles Sanders injury in Philly, they said it's not a long term injury, right? So
that's they're hopeful.
They're hopeful, but I think that means he'll still miss 2 to 3 weeks. So it's a low ankle sprain, they think.
They're just really glad it's not a season ending. That doesn't mean he won't miss like 5 weeks.
Yeah. So Kenneth Gainwell is a must grab because we've seen he's already had a couple breakout games even when Sanders was there. And he just looks like a beast, and they might just use him more than they ever did with Sanders.
I mean, he's a good pass catcher. He's a good runner. Mm-hmm. He's going to be able to do everything Miles Sanders was able to do.
This might be my top grab.
Okay.
Like if I had to rank, I would put...
I think him and Devontae Freeman right now are like our top scoops.
Yeah, I would definitely scoop those guys. I would try to get both, but you probably won't.
So what kind of scoop are we using here? Are we using like a small plastic spoon, or are we doing like full-on ice cream scoop? Like what kind of scoop?
Giant ladle.
Giant ladle, okay.
Yeah, for sure. And then
that's our scale.
It's such a big ladle that I could scoop. I could have some dip in there, and I could scoop a chip dip out of there.
Wow.
Scoop
Okay.
within a
Yeah.
scoop, you know?
That's the scale we use. Everybody, we use plastic spoon up to giant ladle that can maybe get some chips in there too.
Yeah. I'd say that's a good starter scale, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
But, God, he's a must grab. I've been actually handcuffing him for a bit because I thought they were just going to give him the job over Miles Sanders anyway. Because they don't seem to like him, I guess, Sanders.
Yeah, this is like multiple years in a row. It's like the same thing, same old song and dance with Miles Sanders, where it's like they always talk about his talent, but then he's just you're always left wanting more. It seems like the way they talk about him.
Yeah, totally agree. And go get him. That's the guy. And it's a guy you could feel happy, or you would be happy to put in your flex.
Go pull out your giant ladle. Go scoop him up.
Yeah, wait, they don't have a bye next week, right? Am I wrong about that? Do you know?
Oh.
Let's make sure, but he's still a grab, but let's make sure.
They are not on bye till week 14.
Oh, wow, that's weird. Okay, so this guy's definitely,
yeah.
Go get him.
He's a go scoop.
For another tight end, we already went over one guy, but Mo Alley Cox, he's had a few good weeks in a row. I think in the past 4 weeks he's had 4 touchdowns. Not one per week, but totally worth a grab to fill in until like Dawson Knox is back in a couple weeks, or if Gronkowski misses another week.
Mm-hmm.
He's hyper athletic, like he's a big dude, so he could easily catch touchdowns.
Right.
So, just somebody to fill in for tight end.
I'm looking at he's basically a touchdown only guy, though. That's where all his value is. So.
Yeah, he's kind of just a deeper league.
He's a red zone guy.
You're just praying for a touchdown. Yep. But the team looks good now, so he's got more opportunity.
Okay. There you have it, folks. That's the scoop.
That's the scoop. Wow. Definitely keeping that. All right. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. And I hope we helped you with some trade thoughts and your grabs of the week, because you're going to need them.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Okay. Thought I lost you there. All right. Thanks, everyone.
See you later.